one that says new best friend. After doing so, it takes you to a page where you have to make a profile. I put the name
Hello,
DC in my
guys.
profile. My real name is Susan. Once you made a
I'm just
profile,
setting
it
up
takes you to a main page that has categories.
the stream.
There was silly, serious, smart,
Uh,
sweet.
I'll be drawing again today with you guys,
I thought it was funny.
and
After choosing, there was a list of people with their pictures
we will be
right next to
listening
them.
to some horror
I clicked
stories
on the profile icon,
from the channel already,
like the number five,
and
and it didn't seem like someone who would be a smothering
just to
creep.
keep us company,
When I was searching through his
you know.
profile, I received a
And
message asking if I
let's
wanted
go.
to become a friend.
We can start now. I'm just finishing a few things
I
here.
hesitated to
Okay,
respond yes.
and let's
The
start.
message
So what I
replied,
want to do today
"Maybe
is I have
tomorrow,
a
since
background
my
here.
treats had to go."
I want to draw a character
I
to put
told
on
him
this
I'll be back
background here.
tomorrow, and he said okay.
Um, the character will be
He seemed very nice, so we exchanged numbers so we could
more
talk.
or less in this position.
Everything seemed fine until I clicked on another
It will be
profile
more or less like
and
this.
someone else messaged me. I
You
started
will be
following this
looking
new
at the
person.
camera,
His
looking
name
at
was
us,
Texan the God 5.
and let's
Then
see
he went by the name as William.
what I will do.
The new guy had his name Bill in his profile.
Okay, I'm
At
not
Bill,
sure
I
what I'm
clicked,
going to draw,
and he seemed cool. But then William
but I
added
want
me on
something
Messenger
that is
while I was talking with Bill. I didn't
proper
notice
from this time
before
of the
Bill
year, from
responded.
Halloween.
He kept texting with angry
So if you
gestures.
guys want to give a few ideas,
I didn't see
uh,
any text, only a single message on
I will accept.
and it said soon.
So
One day after school, my friend Latrice
let's
came
see.
over to have a sleepover. We got comfortable, went to my room,
What
and
are
began using my
the
phone
things
as a
from this
distraction.
time of the year? Vampires,
I brought up that guy. Then I received a text message that said,
werewolves,
"Why'd you block me?" from a random number. I replied with a
more.
question mark. Then it replied, "It's me, William." He
Zombies?
texted me from a different
Maybe?
number after I
I
blocked him.
think so.
I told Latrice how creepy this guy is, and Latrice
Um,
stopped me from talking because she thought she heard
I
something.
also thought about drawing a
Then I heard a
YouTuber.
voice.
Any.
Not that creepy. We both responded
Let's
with
see.
smiles and looking around. I
Let's
saw
see
a
what
friend
I can
coming
do.
from under my bed, so we ran screaming out of my room, and my
A
mother called the
zombie is
police.
the logo from
I
our
couldn't get
channel.
him because
We have a
he looked
zombie.
through my window, and nothing could be traced back to him.
Vamp, werewolf,
I was
zombies.
starting to think that he was both
I
from
don't know. We
different
will
different
keep
countries,
on going, and if
that
we
doesn't open my
remember
eyes to the dangers of the
other
dark web.
things that we can put,
I would never visit the dark web again.
we can put. Okay. Let's go like this. This is too loud. Okay. Like this. I want transparency. I don't know. Let's start playing around here. What can we do? Hmm. Okay. Top of the head like this. More or less like this. A thick neck. Mhm. With thin arms. There is something that I find creepy about thin arms. No, things like this. No. I don't know. It's just. But it makes sense that the neck is also thin. makes
Spending
sense.
Christmas together. Growing up,
Okay, I wanna put
told me
this
that they would be
here.
nice to others sometimes. After the death of our mother, Iago gave the idea of spending Christmas night at our mother's country clubhouse. More like a mansion. He said it would be nice to
Okay.
be all together. We could discuss in more detail how to divide the family estate. And Tiago proposed this. I said yes, of course.
Okay, I don't want.
They were my only family,
I
so
don't want
I
like
wanted
this.
to
I
spend
want that
Christmas
one
with them.
house.
But the strange thing was,
Like he's saying goodbye to us.
my brothers never let me
Or
interfere in
hello.
family decisions. Ever.
Or hello.
This felt strange to me and got me thinking about things. Darker things. Our mother had died during her sleep of natural causes, but she wasn't that old. It had come as a big shock to me. Her passing was very unexpected. She was always healthy,
Something like this.
took good care of herself, and
Okay, I still don't know what this guy is.
didn't splash her money
Let's
around. All the family's estate and money had come
let's
from
keep on
previous
going.
generations. All this was
Still
inherited.
don't know,
My brothers love the money. Could it be that
but he is
get my mother out of the way so they could get
slowly.
everything for themselves?
We start having ideas.
Are they inviting me to get rid of me as
Very
well?
short here.
I have the darkest thoughts crossing my mind right now. I have no way of facing my three brothers. I don't even have proof, but like I said before, they have been scheming together lately,
Mm.
even more than usual. This may not be a coincidence. I don't know what to do right now, but I need to know for sure what happened to my
I
brother.
want to make his nose.
I managed to get my hands on the autopsy report, which, not surprisingly, said death by natural causes. But a report can be forged. People can be bought. So this
Mm.
could all be fake. I contacted the medical examiner that performed the autopsy. He said the same things that were written in the report. I offered him money and asked him if my
Shall
brothers
we
had
put
contacted
him
him as well.
smiling?
I felt that he was hiding something from me,
Maybe.
but he said nothing and just repeated, "It's all in the report. Don't contact me again."
Maybe
I
smile
was
like
getting
this.
even more suspicious of my brothers. I was sure they had something to do with this. Christmas night came and I prepared myself to go have dinner with them. But I wasn't going to go there without some kind of protection. Whatever they did to my mother isn't going to do to me.
I don't know.
So I took in my wallet my 9mm pistol, just in case. Wasn't even sure I would have the guts to use it. I landed
I
on
don't
the
even know
lawn
what colors we
where my
will put
brothers
him.
were
We will
standing
be
watching
here
the
in
film.
front of this
Say hello to
hellish
everyone, then we'll
lake.
sit down.
I don't know.
Usually, for any occasion, a catering service was
Okay.
hired. But this time, my older brother decided to cook. That was very strange. I had never seen him cooking in my life. I'm waiting for them to take a bite. Need to make sure I'm not going to be poisoned. They start eating and drinking wine. I don't drink alcohol, so I stay with the water. They can make their move at any second. I start eating, and
Hmm.
I'm sure the food is good, but all of a sudden, my brothers start
Okay,
coughing.
let's continue.
Faster
Thin
and
arms.
faster, like they're choking. And one by one, they start dropping their heads into their plates. In shock, not knowing what the hell happened, I
After
got up and I screamed at
after
them.
we do the
Are they
main
joking with me?
body,
Are they pranking me?
I would like to
In the shadows, in the corner of the
I would
room,
like to give him
I see a figure.
some Halloween
Approaching me.
costume things. I don't know,
Slowly.
things that are
I don't know who
usually
this is.
used on
Is
Halloween,
it my
like
mother?
a cape or
She's alive.
I don't know if the cape is the best. Just first of all, is main
Bye,
body.
sweetie.
Doesn't have to be
Bye.
perfect.
Eat and drink wine.
Needs to come here. Okay. It's not full body. Okay, these are. Okay, the finger needs to start a little more down.
Sophie had just recently lost her job, and the bills were starting to pile up. With her rent overdue,
Okay.
Sophie was desperate for money. While she was talking to her friend on the phone and crying her eyes out, her friend Alexis had actually recommended she try being a model on a new adult site. The
Okay,
suggestion took
let's
Sophie by
go to
surprise.
here.
The site was full of models, mostly female, taking pictures and videos of themselves in skimpy outfits and even going nude in some cases. There were even some doing X rated content. Sophie couldn't imagine herself doing this kind of work, even if she was desperate for money. But her friend told her that she didn't have to do anything she wasn't
Okay, big
comfortable
hand.
with. She could decide whatever content to sell, ranging from tame to risque. And the reason Sophie's friend was so approving of the job was because she
Okay.
herself had been a model on it for a couple months now. Sophie was
We are
mortified
starting
upon
to
hearing her
have
friend's
something.
disclosure, but also it kind of gave her some reassurance.
Okay, let's start
Desperate for money, Sophie decided to give it a shot.
with the head.
She signed up and created an account the very next day. Even
Start
though
with the
she was
head.
doing
Let's
millions,
decrease
by
the
the end
size
of
of the
playing this so fun,
brush.
she was still nervous that somebody she knew would
I'm
recognize
listening
her.
to stories
The
that I have
temptation of earning big
from
money was
the
too
channel,
much for her to resist.
and
Sophie began by posting some pretty tame pictures of herself
don't
in her
know about
outfit.
this head.
She wasn't exactly
I will
sure if she could
add
compete with all of the other
hair
models on the
after.
site, but it wasn't long before she started getting subscribers.
Okay,
Even though
like
Sophie
this.
was hesitant at first to become an online model, the more subscribers she got, the more confident she started becoming. She even started doing live webcam shows. The money she was making off doing it all had suddenly become
Okay.
really addictive. She even loved seeing all the messages her fans would send her.
Okay.
It wasn't before long that the pictures and videos Sophie started posting became more and more risque. She started wearing skimpier outfits and doing more and more suggestive acts. Eventually, she started posting nude pictures and doing X-rated content with herself. And the more hardcore the content became, the more money poured in. In fact, in just a short amount of time, she started making more money in a week than she did in a whole month from her old job. Sophie was beyond overjoyed. Any doubts and objections she had about being a sex worker eventually washed away. The money she was making was just too good. At this rate, she figured she'd be able to afford to put a down payment on a house in a couple months. But despite her getting over her insecurities, admittedly, there were a few times, while going out in public, that it felt like a stranger would recognize her. In fact, there was one time in particular that it seemed a man was following her while she was doing errands. But Sophie figured it was just her being paranoid. Plus, Sophie never saw the strange man again. Overall, things were going well for her.
No details yet.
As good as the money was from her subscribers, the money was even better doing custom picture and video requests from individual fans. As expected, most of the requests would center on her getting fully naked or doing X-rated material with herself. There were also a few fans that would request kinkier things, but nothing Sophie couldn't
I'll
handle.
draw his teeth like.
In all honesty, the weirdest
these
requests
guys.
would come from a longtime subscriber from the name of Rolling Trick 816. He wasn't exactly requesting something vulgar or shocking. In fact, it was kind of the opposite. The pictures he would request were beyond mild. You see, Rolling Trick 816 was requesting pictures and videos of Sophie doing the most mundane things, like taking food out of the fridge, cooking a meal on the stove, vacuuming the carpet, cleaning the bathroom, mopping the floors, and watching
Okay.
TV on her
Nothing
bed
special so
or in the
far.
living room. Sophie thought the requests were kind of odd, but considering how much Rolling Trick 816 was paying for the custom pictures and videos, she was more than willing to oblige. At this point, everything in
Okay, the
Sophie's life
basic
was great,
Part of the head
and as a gesture of
with no
appreciation,
details is done.
she took her
I'll
friend
add
Alexis
up.
out on a night on the
Now the
town.
body.
The two of them would have such a
Need to
great
color
time
everything
that Sophie
first
wouldn't come
before I
home later
do.
that night, way past 12 a.m. As Sophie made her way from her car to her apartment, she started to get the feeling that somebody was watching her. Feeling uneasy, she hastily walked towards her door with her keys ready. But just as soon as she unlocked it, somebody suddenly grabbed her from behind, covering her mouth, and forcefully dragged her into the apartment. Before she knew it, she was thrown onto the floor. With her heart racing and her body numb from fear, she reluctantly looked up. There, staring down at her, was a burly and intimidating-looking man. "Please, don't hurt me. You can take all the money I have in my purse," Sophie would tell the man with her voice trembling. "You think I did all this just for money?" The man scoffed. "Most of that money is mine anyway." A look of confusion registered across Sophie's face. "What? What are you talking about?" "You don't know who I am, do you?" the man replied, almost sounding insulted. "I think it's because you know me better as Rolling Trick 816. Sophie's blood ran cold at the revelation. "Oh, my God, how? How did you know where I lived?" Sophie desperately asked. The man started to laugh. "You really still haven't figured it out, have you?" The stranger laughed. "Stupid girl. I saw you out in public weeks ago. Imagine my shock realizing that the lady so fine actually lived in my city." The man continued to laugh with delight. "Don't you see? All those pictures I told you to take, cooking, cleaning? It was all just so I could catch glimpses of how every aspect of your apartment looked like. After that, it was just a matter of going online and finding an apartment complex that had all the very same features and layouts such as yours. You gave me everything I needed to find you." Sophie was overcome with regret and horror. How could she be so stupid, she thought to herself. "Stay away from me, you psycho," Sophie yelled, with tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'll scream." "You can if you want," the man deviously laughed. "But if you hadn't noticed, I dragged you inside your studio room. And, as you are aware, you installed the soundproof panels in here for your activities that you didn't want your neighbors to hear. So go ahead and scream. But you're not going to be able to scream long enough to get anybody's attention." Sophie's face turned a different shade of white when she realizes how hopeless her situation is. As the man slowly starts to descend on Sophie, he tells her, "Now, it's my turn to give you a show." Sophie lets out a blood-curdling
What's wrong
scream,
these guys?
but within the flash of an eye,
In gray.
the man is able to quickly subdue her,
I'd like to give him a
drowning
little
out her
color.
pleas for help.
Oh, well, let's see what color. An orangey color could be nice. Let's see. Why not? Why not do this color? See what we can do. Going with it. He has brows. He has concrete gums. done. Yellow teeth, obviously.
Me and my best friend spent a lot of time together. He comes to my house frequently. We play games and watch videos on the internet.
Okay, let's start giving details.
Usually we don't get in trouble, but we do sometimes get bored. The other day I told my friend I wanted to go on the dark web. Everyone was talking about it. I wanted to check if the rumors were true and see if we could find creepy things that everyone talks about. My friend was a little scared, and I must admit I was a bit nervous, but also curious, and had to see for myself. We get it all set up, ready to start. I scroll through pages with a few links. They had everything here. Hitman for hire, access to credit cards, fake IDs, you name it, it was there. And after a while we started to see some creepier things, and came across one that I wish we'd never touched. The name of the link was Slasher Kills. I hit the link, and it took us to a chat room with a live video stream, and it showed the front of the house in the suburbs. After a few seconds, a girl appeared in front of it. She looked scared. It was like she knew someone or something was stalking her. A few more seconds passed, and she was standing in the front of the house. It was as if she couldn't move, paralyzed with fear. It was at that moment, from nowhere, someone appeared behind her and stabbed her with a machete, raising her into the air. She screamed, but it was of no use. The killer threw her like a piece of garbage to the ground and vanished. My friends and I were in complete shock. We were questioning if this was real. Had we just witnessed a murder on live stream? The chat room was being flooded with messages from other users. They were celebrating, enjoying watching some poor girl be murdered. And these people were liking it. This was sick and disgusting. My friend told me we should call the police. But what were we going to tell them? Maybe if we gave them the link they could track them, or even track the killer. As we debated what to do, my friend received a text message and opened it up from an unknown number. I asked my friend who texted him. He looked pale. He shows me the text. It read, "You and your friend are next. Slasher kills." Now both of us are in a state of panic. How the hell? How'd they know we were watching? How did they know we were going to call the cops and now come after us? I told my friend we should hide in the bedroom and call them anyway. We had a message we could show them. We had proof someone was coming after us, but my friend checked the phone and the message was now gone. He received a new one saying, "Don't call the cops. But there's a chance for survival. Go to the front door and pick up the bag on the ground." Scared, trying to keep some kind of composure, I ran to the door despite the fear, opened the door and there was a bag. I picked it up, and my friend was still in front of the computer panicking and crying. He didn't even care about the bag. I opened the bag, and I see a mask and a machete, both resembling the ones used by the killer in the video. Not only was I terrified, but I was also confused. Why did they leave this here? Then I received a new text. Put on the mask and pick up the machete. You know what you have to do. It's the only way. What? Are they expecting me to kill my friend? I received another message. This one read, "If you don't do it, someone will kill you both. If you want to live, this is your way out."
This character.
I can't describe how I feel at this point. I feel like I was just punched in the stomach several times. But also my survival instinct was kicking in. I want to survive. And if this is the only way to do it, I know what I must do.
Creepy orange
So I
guy.
put on the mask and grabbed the machete.
I don't know.
It's time.
My name is Matilda. I'm 13 years old. I live with my parents in a big house. Can't complain. We have everything a young teenage girl could possibly want. But even with everything, I don't know what it is to feel, to smile. Still, the only thing I want is to be happy, to be able to smile. For so long I have been showered with gifts by my parents. They don't understand how unhappy I am. I don't think they even care, as long as I don't complain. Everything is just fine. I tried everything to be able to feel something. Every day I helped the old lady that lives around the corner across the street. I gave money to homeless people with nothing to eat. I went to church every single Sunday morning. Nothing makes me feel. Why can't I just feel like everyone else?
Fingers.
My parents are too busy doing their own things to understand how I feel. They are happy all the time, always smiling, always in a good mood.
Fingers look weird.
In school, I see other kids making fun of me.
Not only the fingers.
I don't care. I would at
It
least prefer
looks
to
weird
feel
entirely.
something,
But I like
even
it.
if it was
I like this design.
humiliation. But nothing. I see the parents picking their kids up from school every day.
Want to give.
Everyone's happy to see each other.
some-
My parents also pick me up,
Let's try
but
to do something here with some
when I
things.
see them, I feel nothing. No happiness, sadness, just a vacuum inside me. Maybe this is who I am supposed to be,
Okay.
a vessel of nothingness, cursed to walk until I die, without the basic understanding of life. Maybe one day, I will see it by myself, what it is to feel. Another day, another cursed day, where I'm doing the same things. Getting up, going to school, come back, meet my parents, go to sleep. Is there something else I can do today? Something I haven't tried before? I'm walking in the street. The old lady that I always help is in front of me.
Remember this animation.
I always help her cross the street, in search of that feeling, that smile. I stood behind her.
One
Did I
of
do
the
something
first
different?
ones.
Why didn't I offer her my help? Isn't that what I'm supposed to do? Doesn't matter what I do. But
An
maybe
oldie.
I can do something different today.
Okay, so I'm trying some things here. One things everywhere. And then after. It's been dry on my channel. So I'll do a few speed drawings. I don't know if you guys enjoy. But in paper it's hard to copy paste. Since I started on digital gets you used to the type of drawing that is. It's very hard to complete after. Okay, let's do some things here in our space. What?
I love walking in the woods, just walking alone, especially during the day. Sometimes I go at night, but I prefer during the morning or afternoon. A certain day, while walking, I came across a concrete structure.
Mr.
As I
Creepy.
got closer, I
Another
started
incredible
noticing
narrator.
it had an entrance which was very dark. It was against the rock of the side
Incredible
of a mountain.
performances from him.
My instincts told me not to go inside, but my curious explorer nature told me the opposite. I stepped closer to the entrance and I saw on the ground a small oil lamp. Again, all my instincts were screaming not to go inside, but I ignored them. I picked up the lamp to see if it worked, and it did. It didn't shine a lot, but enough to see where I placed my feet. So I began my journey inside. At the same time I was terrified of being inside this tunnel, I felt excited. I couldn't avoid having a smile while walking this empty structure. I kept on walking, but this place looked endless. I could barely see. There was something around me besides the ground, which was some
color
kind of
is
gravel. Like I said,
stronger.
I couldn't see
But it
anything,
won't be
just
seen.
darkness everywhere. Who built this? I asked myself. I had been walking through these woods all my life and never came across this place. We're pretty isolated, but still.
Okay.
Suddenly, I started listening to
What is
footsteps.
this
They
thing?
weren't very loud, but they were definitely footsteps. They started getting
Tunnel
louder,
is
so
the name
it
of
meant
this
it was
animation.
getting closer. Now, I did feel nervous because I couldn't see anyone,
1
but
year
they
ago.
could see me with this lamp. Frozen in place, I tried to focus on the location of the footsteps,
Nice.
but to no avail. Not being able to see and having the
Okay,
footsteps getting closer, I decided it was
yeah,
time to
this-
leave. So I started walking faster in the direction I came, or so
Any
I
shading
thought.
yet? Let's
The
do a
light at the
little
end of the
shading to
tunnel
give me
didn't
another
appear,
idea.
but I kept walking. Suddenly,
Okay,
whoever or
okay. So
whatever
let's
was
just do
walking in my
normal.
direction started going faster, so I started running. After a few minutes
Here,
of running,
we'll do
I
it
had to
first
stop.
one.
I was exhausted. I could feel my heart almost coming out of my chest, but the footsteps had stopped. There was only silence now. But there was something strange ahead of me. I couldn't understand what it was. It was an egg-shaped bluish thing, I would say 20 feet from me. I was still standing frozen and nervous in place, looking at it, trying to understand what this thing was. A slimy sound could be heard, and it didn't look like the egg or whatever that thing was moving up. Slowly, I could see a little more of it. It was getting bigger. All of a sudden, a pair of glowing eyes appeared. That was it for me. I started running in the opposite direction, still holding the lamp, but I had no idea where I was going. Anyway, I wanted to get as far as possible from that thing back there. But just when I thought it was safer, I stopped, and in front of me, 2 of those same creatures appeared. They were exactly the same. I turned around, and another appeared.
Oh, are the
I
creatures.
was surrounded by them.
Don't remember
I
this.
started
I
running
remember
again,
drawing
trying
this,
to
but
put some distance between me and
the
those
creatures in a
things.
tunnel.
They kept chasing me through that tunnel. I couldn't see anything. I was running in complete darkness, but somehow the creatures stopped chasing me. I looked back, and there was nothing behind me. Strange. I could have sworn they were just on my tail. A few seconds passed, and I heard the most terrifying sound I had ever heard in my life. A deafening screech. It came from the opposite direction. Frozen in place, without being able to move, I kept looking back. Heavy steps could be heard coming in my direction. At this point, I accepted my fate. There was no way I was going to leave this place. The footsteps continued, getting closer to me, until they stopped right in front of me. I heard a voice of a man speaking to me, dressed as a miner. He asked me what I was doing in the mine because I wasn't allowed to be there. At that moment, I almost cried from joy. I was so relieved, I cannot describe it with words.
No.
He escorted me to the exit,
Going on
and
a
just when I
different
was about to
layer.
leave the place, I was transported back to that moment when I was hearing the footsteps. By this time, accompanied by a
Okay.
deep voice coming from behind
I don't
my
know.
ear. You will never leave this place.
Siempre sí. Okay. Sorry, guys. Not alone. Okay. Okay, what's here? Okay. Some true horrific stories in this channel.
Want to be part of the stories?
People
Join my
send me the
Patreon,
creepiest of
and I'll
stories.
draw
Sometimes I'm
you
reading
or
the stories
two
and I can't
characters of
believe
your
that
choice
happened to
as part
someone.
of the horror universe I create.
Uh,
With exclusive rewards like shoutouts and custom art,
okay.
you'll directly
Guys,
support the channel
also
while
check
becoming
the
a
Patreon.
unique part of the
If you
content.
guys would,
Check out the tiers
would
and
like
join
to
the
be a
community
character in my
today.
stories, I
I
can
had
draw you.
3 really good friends, and their
I'm
names were
drawing
Kevin,
the Patreons,
Ryan,
and
and
today,
Tommy.
no, tomorrow.
Every summer, our
there's a
parents would take us on a
Patreon story
vacation.
with one of our
We
super
always stayed in
Patreons.
a remote cabin in the forest of
That
Minnesota.
is coming, so
The cabin was located on a large
hope you
island
guys
in the middle
enjoy.
of Lake Vermilion. Eventually, when we were old enough, our
and,
parents let us go to the cabin on our own
think
for the
it's
first
tomorrow.
time.
Yeah.
When we
Yes,
got
that
there,
was my Halloween
we parked the
compilation.
car on the gravel road beside the lake.
The story with
Then we had to take a boat across the lake
Dreadful.
about half a mile to reach the cabin.
Okay.
There were a few other cabins on the island, but they were all at least half a mile away. The cabin was quite small
Okay.
and only had a kitchen, a bathroom, and 2 bedrooms. At night, it was pitch black. There were no street lights for miles, and the only light came from the moon. There were no curtains on the windows, so when you were sleeping at night, you could see the moon shining down on the trees and the lake outside. On the 3rd night of our trip, we set up a
I also
campfire
like
by
to
the edge
draw
of the
other
lake.
things, not only horror.
The moon was full and the pale white glow was shimmering across
The
the
problem
lake.
is with drawing
We were gazing
horror
up at the
is if you
stars
don't
when
draw
all of a sudden we heard a
realistically,
splashing sound, as
it
if
just
something
looks
was moving
funny.
about in the
It
water.
doesn't look scary. You know?
Ryan suddenly stood up and pointed,
And
saying,
I struggle a
"What
little
the
bit
hell
with
is
that
that?"
because my original
We all
drawing
looked in the
style
direction he was pointing,
was
peering into the darkness.
more cartoony.
After a while,
Yeah, and I think
I
it
couldn't
still
make
is
out
because
he was pointing at.
I'm not very good at drawing
I'll never forget the feeling of terror that came over
realistically.
me.
That's
The hair on the back of my
something that
neck
I'm
stood up,
still
and
learning.
goosebumps appeared on my arms.
Sometimes
I was paralyzed in fear.
there are a few things, a
Out
few
in the
pieces
middle of
that
the
I
lake,
like more,
there was a woman's head. It was just floating there
It's
on
not
the
easy.
surface of the water, staring directly at us.
Okay, I wonder
She
if
had
this
pale white skin and long black hair.
abs.
Her hair
This
was
guy's
matted to her
completely
face.
dry.
The rest of her was submerged or not even there. We tried to tell ourselves that it was just a loon. They are black and white birds that hunt at night, diving deep into the water.
Okay,
It didn't
here.
look like a loon, but that's what we tried to convince ourselves it was. We threw some more wood on the fire and tried to forget about it, but it still gave me the creeps. About an hour later, I had to go to the toilet, so
Okay.
I walked down to the edge of the dock and peed into the
I
lake.
like this.
Looking out over the moonlit lake, I noticed the thing was still there, but now it was much
I want
closer.
this to be
It still looked like the woman's head, and it still seemed to be staring right at me. Its face was still
Yes.
extremely pale, as if it hadn't been out in the sun for years, and I could easily make out some facial
This one
features,
is actually
the eyes and the nose. A feeling of incredible unease came over me as I realized it couldn't be a loon. There was no way a loon could just tread water for that long. There were no ripples around it either. It wasn't moving at all. It was just standing there, stiff as a board, submerged in the water. I immediately zipped up my pants and ran back up to the dock to where my friends were, sitting around the campfire. I told them what I'd seen, but none of them dared to go down to the dock to take a closer look. We tried to tell ourselves it was just a log or a tree branch, just floating out in the water. I could tell everyone else felt uneasy too. None of us really believed that. We went back
so
into the
this
cabin
initial
and we
shading,
shut the door, locking
I
it
think it's
behind
done.
us. It was very late and we just needed sleep.
I want more. I
None of
want
us
them
mentioned
to
a thing
look
in the
little
lake.
scarier, so
We were
If
all
we
trying to
increase the-
avoid talking
the
about it,
opacity
honestly.
will make the
There were no curtains on the
bigger
windows,
holes on him.
and I was getting ready for bed.
It's
I
like
couldn't
this.
help but taking one last
I
look.
want to add
Peering out of the window,
another
I
thing.
could see
to
the
it.
lake clearly, illuminated by the full moon,
There
but the
will be
thing wasn't
some,
there anymore.
Pus.
It had completely vanished. I let out a sigh of relief, thinking it was a log that just floated away,
I think you call this a
or
zip.
else it sank below the surface. Or perhaps it had been a loon, and
Okay.
it finally flown away. It was very hot that night, and we had to sleep with the windows open. My friend Tommy and I slept in one bedroom, and my two other friends slept in the other. We left our
Like
bedroom
this.
doors
I
open.
want them to look
I was finding it hard to sleep, very, very hard. It was the middle of the summer, and there wasn't even a slight breeze.
some lines here.
The heat was stifling. As I lay there,
And I
I
want to
thought I
have
could
a
hear someone walking
infected
around
green
outside the
color.
cabin. I kept my eyes tightly
Green.
shut
I don't know.
and tried to tell myself it was just my imagination. It sounded like someone with bare, wet feet pacing back and forth.
I want the color like this.
I was
Follow
trembling
this,
with fear, but I felt so weak I couldn't move. The footsteps, they sounded like they were walking up the steps to the cabin door. I wanted to shout out to my friends, but I was frozen in terror. Then the footsteps
give them
turned
a white.
around and sounded like they were running down the steps and toward the lake.
Just to give a little
After a
glow.
while, the footsteps faded away,
Yeah.
and there was
well,
only
that's it,
silence.
alright.
I reached over and shook my friend Tommy. He was already awake and he claimed he had heard the footsteps as well. Just then, I was startled to see Ryan coming running into our room. When he stepped into the moonlight, I could see his face, and the expression on it was very, very disturbing. He told us we need to leave. I asked why. What did you hear?
I like it.
He said, let's just go.
I like
He
it.
insisted. Let's get to the boat and it's time to
No.
go.
We need to
He
continue.
wouldn't answer. He just ran back into his room.
Okay.
We followed him and found Kevin sitting on his bed, already packing up his things.
So we
Ryan was running around
this on
frantically
one side.
grabbing his
What I
stuff
can
and
do
stuffing
now
it into a
to
bag.
not be. I will see if this
What's
works.
wrong? I
Might
demanded.
not work.
Ryan, what the
I'll
hell
just
is wrong
try
with
to
you?
do the same
Tell us.
ones.
He just stopped in his tracks and stared at me. There was a haunted look in his eyes. I would never forget what he said. He told us he was turning over in his bed
I
to
just
get more
knew.
comfortable when he suddenly saw at the top
Just
right
need to
corner of his
shake.
window someone was peeking in. As soon as he set his eyes on it, the face vanished. He said all he saw was long black hair hanging down the window, ghostly white skin, and one large eye staring at him. When he said that, it chilled us to the bone. We realized that
Okay.
if the face was in the top right corner of the window, that meant the thing had to be damn near 8
I'm gonna
feet
give
tall,
something to the veins
or
as
else
well.
floating in midair. I felt like I was
Veins
going to
have
be
a
sick.
glow.
Let's just go, Ryan
Now I
said
want
in
to
a very
glow
serious tone. Let's
bright
just go
red.
now. We all agreed and packed our stuff up as quickly as we could.
Precise.
We grabbed our bags and ran out of the cabin, locking the door behind us. As we scrambled down the front steps, I glanced to the side and I saw footprints, bare, wet footprints, in the dirt all around the cabin. We ran down to the boat and threw our stuff in.
Yeah, they're glowing.
We untied the boat from the dock and we sped off. I looked back over my shoulder and stared at the island, but I
Okay,
didn't
let's
see
do
anything
some
moving.
More shading that
However,
we need to give here.
I had the strangest feeling that someone or something was watching us. When we finally reached the other side of the lake, we tied up the boat, stuffed our backpacks in the car, and drove off. We had been driving for about 10 minutes when, out of the blue, Ryan
I'm
suddenly
going to
broke
put
down sobbing. He
some
kept
of the
saying
thing
over and over,
that
"What was it,
zips,
guys?
I don't know how you guys
What was it? What did we see?"
It's also
On the way, we called our parents to tell them what happened.
I wanna put a few
Ryan was freaking out, and we didn't know what to do.
in his head.
They told us to just get home safely and quickly. My friend's dad went up to the cabin a few days later and said he saw nothing out of the ordinary. However, he did mention that there were bare, wet footprints all around the cabin, which he thought was odd. Whatever Ryan saw in the window really hit him
No
hard.
more.
After his breakdown, he had trouble sleeping and ended up having to go
We're
into
using
therapy.
number 4.
They gave him some pills to calm him down and allow him to get a decent night's sleep. As time went on, he recovered and ended up being fine. But to this day, he still can't sleep unless the curtains on his window are completely shut. To this day, I still cannot explain what we saw in the lake that night. I never went back to the cabin. Tommy and Kevin have both gone back and everything was fine. But Ryan refuses to go back, and frankly, I'm with him on this one.
Nightmare Files.
Okay, let's see. What can I do?
I'm enjoying a deserved break in the teacher's lounge. Today is Friday, so we are all waiting for the final bell in order to go home and enjoy the weekend. Unfortunately, we still have a few hours of class in front of us, and something else is about to happen that will change my life forever. As everyone is enjoying their free time before the next lessons, the school fire alarm starts ringing. We are all caught by surprise, and we are pretty much looking at each other waiting for someone to tell us what to do. We know we need to evacuate, but the alarm came so unexpectedly.
Okay.
A few seconds have passed and we hear the dean speaking in the comm. He tells everyone to stay locked inside the classrooms until further notice. Which is weird because we heard the fire alarm, and he is asking us to stay inside instead of evacuating the building, which is mandatory protocol.
What can I do?
We locked ourselves inside the teacher's lounge and we waited for new
What can I
instructions.
do more?
The situation got much worse when we started hearing a noise coming from the outside corridor. It sounded like someone was hitting the lockers with something.
What if I
The
increase
noise was
size?
also getting closer.
Just make here.
The door had a glass in the middle which allowed us to see who was outside, so we all kept our eyes on it, waiting to see who was making the noise. I still remember that moment. It felt like it was taking forever to pass. The noise was over now, and we were all on edge waiting to see who was there. Slowly, a tall figure appeared on the other side of the door.
I want.
It was holding a machete and had stopped in front of the glass. Slowly, he turned his head to us and we could see his face more clearly. He had the most disturbing smile I'd ever seen in my life.
Wearing.
His hair was a
clothing.
mess and his face was all scarred.
I want them like this.
He just stands there looking at us
Take
and
out.
showing his machete. We were all in a state of panic, unable to move. One moment we were all having a good time together.
Let's see.
In the other, some random guy entered the school with a machete. Something I forgot to mention was that machete was already covered in blood, which means he had already used it on someone. By some miracle, we listened to cops screaming in the hallway at the man. In a matter of seconds, they put the suspect on the ground and took him away. Finally, the alarm stopped ringing and we were taken to safety. Turns out the suspect had stabbed another teacher for unknown reasons. It's scary to think it could have been me being stabbed. Fortunately, the other teacher recovered from his wounds and no one else got injured. Not physically, at least. Mentally, I am scarred for life.
Actually, it looks sick. I like it. Okay. I have to turn off today, guys. It was just another drawing stream. I hope you guys enjoy. I want to do more streams like this to be here with you guys, and hopefully I can speak with you today. I couldn't speak with anyone, but I hope you guys can continue coming. Like I said, for this month there will be stories almost every single day, and I want you guys to have fun, comment, share the stories, like the stories, because it really helps the channel, and we've been growing, and I want to keep on working with more and more and bring more stories. And please check on Patreon, because there's actually some very nice things. You can participate in the stories as a character.
It's been 1 month since I joined the cult.
Just
since
go
I
and check
joined
it out.
my lady.
Okay, guys.
Since I met her that first night in that
thank you
house.
so much.
And